It had been a tough year for me. I'd become disabled, lost my job, become destitute, and got divorced in the course of a year. Thankfully, a break came in the way of a room from a friend, followed by a quick part-time job with a boss who understands my limitations. I had just gotten my schedule regular and had 3 days off in a row and decided to really reset with a camping trip. We live in the middle of nowhere and about 2 hours from the nearest AT campsite. I put down the seats on the SUV, packed, and opted for a KOA about an hour out, as I'm more of a glamper at this stage in the game. As I pulled up to the site, I noticed it was kind of neglected. The ancient ranger at the check-in center told me I could pick my spot as there were no other guests. I inquired about bears, and he told me they weren't a problem. This is good news, as bear shelters can get hot in summer. He checked me into the most remote tent lot. I unpacked my tent and set up my bedding. I gathered some firewood and prepared some red beans and rice with sausage, making use of the fading light. I then set up a protective circle. I cranked up my phone's playlist, saved because no signal. I danced through the elements summoning, spraying holy water through a pump-action water pistol. I invite Hecate and Pan to join my meal. I wrung out my sweat rag into the fire. As I ate, the sun set. I enjoyed a whiskey and water with my pipe as the stars came out. I felt the reset. I was clean on the inside, albeit grimy on the outside. I thanked the gods for their gift and released them, keeping the circle intact. I entered my tent. As my music ended, I watched the stars through the mesh ceiling as the crickets and cicadas orchestrated around me. I woke up cold to a rumbling. I listened for the sounds of the forest but heard none. Then a sickly slap smack against my vehicle. It was wet and heavy. I looked through the tent windows but didn't see my car. The moon was still high, but a few feet around my tent was shrouded in darkness. Sleepiness was soon replaced with rocketing angst as I reached for my flashlight. I pointed the vehicle best I could through the rumbling. Instantly, fog appeared from the darkness. As the light slowly cut its way through mist and darkness, this is a 10,000 lumen flashlight and should have lit up the forest, but I had to maneuver this way and that to see the vehicle. I see no damage, but continue hearing the unsettling slapping through the trees around me. I cannot see the source of the noise, and I dare not leave the tent. Anxiety was giving way to fear. I point the flashlight at the last place I hear it. Fog, then a singular tree swaying. Like my car, free of any viscera or fluids that would indicate a violent encounter. I looked up from the tent, and my fear escalated into terror. The night sky was a portal in the shape of my circle. Above the trees, the darkness stretched. I watched, dumbstruck, as a deluge of darkness flooded the forest, save where I stood and pointed my flashlight. It was like being trapped under a glass, surrounded by dark ocean. The wet smacking continued against the trees in my car, but the light took so long to burn through the blackness and fog, other noises were happening by the time my target was singularly illuminated. I switched off the light and zipped up the tent. I laid down and looked up. The limited view from the ceiling vent made the sky look normal. I tried my best to empty my mind. I took my anxiety medicine and thought it through. There's darkness at night and sometimes fog. The unsettling noise continues around my circle, but I tell myself they are raccoons or opossums and pop in some earplugs. After a while, I start to halfway believe this. Sleep doesn't come until the gray of morning. I woke up sometime later to the heat of the sun. I climb out of the tent, rusty from next to no sleep. I inspect my campsite, releasing my circle, and then I noticed it. There was debris from my fire and a few articles inside my circle. There was none outside. A forest without twigs, leaves, and pine needles is eerie enough, but even the shrubs and undergrowth were yanked from or severed at the ground. My tummy was flip-flopping, and I made haste to load my sight into the car. On the way out, I felt a duty to warn the park ranger something very wrong happened last night. He smiled, and slowly his pointed teeth became visible. "No, sir, it's a self-cleaning park. Thanks for staying with us." He then waved me off in the friendliest manner.